Konnichiwa, Neil Scott, your boy INCOG, back with another reaction video. And today, for you guys, we are doing the second part of that Shirou Emiya character showcase from Type Moon. This is from the Miyuverse for Shirou Emiya. So we already did the 29-minute video on Shirou Emiya, like the 3 different like routes and everything like that. This was, like I said, it's gonna go in more detail about the verse form of Shirou Emiya. That was like the same video, like one was like longer than the other, but no. This one's 19 minutes, the other one's 29 minutes. So without further ado, guys, before you get this video, like, share, subscribe on the video. Hit the bell notification, make sure you click all so notify every time I make a future upload. We do daily content over here. Also as well, what you say? Oh, that's right. Go ahead, go follow the Facebook page, Twitter page, etc. All that stuff's gonna be down in the description down below, and also the original poster of this video page link will be in the description down below. Will be the first link in the description down below. All right, guys. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So play.
It's been a small while, hasn't it? Welcome once again to the next episode of Type Moon Characters Showcase. This is the series where I look at a character of the Nasuverse regardless of obscurity and use them to explore the Nasuverse itself. The goal of this series is to inform and share the wonderful Nasuverse using the many amazing and interesting characters it offers by looking into their backstories, analyzing their abilities and quirks, and finishing off with my personal thoughts. But enough of the intro. Today, we're going to be sort of revisiting a character we've already done a video for.
Yeah, it was a video we already did.
We're going to be looking at Shirou Emiya. No, not that one. That one.
Yeah.
This version of Shirou is a supporting character from the Kaleid Liner Prisma Ilya spin-off series. The Magical Girl spin-off series that gets way too much hate because of the lolly Yuri bait plaguing the first 3 seasons before it actually goes full-on Prime Age Nasuverse lore mode in Season 4 onward. Mature tone, themes, morally gray dilemmas.
See, I don't like stuff like that. It takes a while for it to build. It takes you 3 seasons to build something up and get into it. That's so stupid. You're gonna lose a lot of like viewers. So I'm bored so right now.
Despite this, he isn't as much of an important character, so I can focus on his future contributions in other Type Moon Character Showcase videos. So in this video, we'll only be focusing on the manga chapters starting from 22 to 40. Anime watchers will recognize this as the final 2 episodes of Prisma Ilya Dry, and the absolutely godlike movie adaptation, Oath Under Snow. Final note before we go into the breakdown, you may want to watch my character showcase on Fate Stay Night's version of Shirou Emiya for context.
Yeah, which we already done that one. I'm gonna upload that one before uploading this one.
With all of that done, let's move on to the character and backstory. This Shirou has a backstory that's very similar to the Shirou we know. However, it also has some key differences that results in huge changes in his worldview and character development. First off, this universe's Shirou and Kiritsugu were not involved in the Holy Grail War when they met. Shirou was simply caught in a massive accident and Kiritsugu was the person who saved him. This meant that this universe's Kiritsugu did not have the same world-shattering trauma that Zero gave him, and still held to his own methods of being a hero. Shirou, however, still idolized and strived to be a hero like Kiritsugu, and followed him to help other people. Eventually, they were informed of a family that gave birth to children with omnipotent wish-granting abilities, the Children of God, and in order to make the world a better place, they drove to Fuji.
Children OD, offer up, get bored.
They saw the city being engulfed in a black haze as it destroyed the city, and they also witnessed a blinding light cover the shadow and completely erase it. They headed to the source of the light and saw a half-destroyed house, with a single young girl sitting alone in the wreckage. The house began to collapse
She's just sitting in it?
Immediately running off to save the girl, and while he did that, the house suddenly stopped crumbling out of nowhere, allowing Shirou to bring the girl to safety. Later, by reading books that they found in the wreckage, Kiritsugu found out that the girl they saved was the last surviving child of God that they were looking for, Miyu Sakatsuki. Kiritsugu and Shirou took in Miyu in order to figure out how to use her to grant their wish of saving humanity. It was written that the Children of God would lose their omnipotent abilities at 6 years of age, as they would finally become human.
Oh, so it's a time frame on the ability, okay.
Saving humanity, their consciousness and soul would be eternally bound to the world, a fate worse than death. Due to these factors, Kiritsugu warned Shirou not to treat Miyu as anything more than a tool, and spent most of his time trying to figure out how to use Miyu before her 6th birthday. However, while Shirou acknowledged that Kiritsugu was completely correct, when Miyu played with him, accompanied him as he cooked, and ate his food, he could not once bring himself to see Miyu as anything less than a precious treasure.
It'll be the naivety
Kiritsugu
part of
Shiryu,
Shiryu.
with Shirou making the same promise that he made in Fate's Day Night, where he told Kiritsugu that he would be a hero of justice in his place, and would later continue to live a normal life in Fuyuki for the next 5 years. This time, however, with Miyu Sakatsuki living alongside him. His life was very similar to the original.
That's a red flag. I knew it
He has
though.
a lot less friends and classmates. He's still friends with Sakura, but the big difference is Sakura never visited Shirou's house, so they weren't as close with one another. He is still best friends with the council president, but in this timeline, instead of Issei, the president is Julian Ainsworth. Julian was very rude with a short temper, but despite this, they were genuine best friends and got along very well. Of course though, Miyu was still living with him, and had become a lot more human over the time they shared. After her 6th birthday, where it was prophesied that she would lose her power, Shirou chose to teach her things about the world and life skills like cooking. But despite all this, he keeps Miyu's existence a secret for her own safety. In his personal time, he wonders why he wasn't able to come to a decision on what to do with her. He wondered if he was still able to find a way to use Miyu's power, but never ended up committing to finding out if it was possible. He told himself that Kiritsugu never hesitated, and that he should be like that if he wanted to be a hero of justice. But even then, could he really do this to Miyu? One night, as Shirou and Miyu were stargazing, Shirou brought up that Kiritsugu used to look up and wish at the stars, and in response, Miyu wished to the stars that if there was one thing she wanted Shirou and herself to be true brother and sister. 5 years after she was thought to have lost her power completely, and Shirou watches as her eyes become just like his own. Miyu finishes, remarking that such a thing could never happen. And a humbled, touched Shirou,
Wow.
there's no way such a thing could
She
happen,
became his sister.
It was then decided that he would never sacrifice Miyu, and instead would take care of his little sister. And in the next few days, he would experience the happiest days of his life. Eventually, Shirou would take Miyu outside for the first time in order to fulfill Miyu's wish of seeing the ocean. However, before he went there, he brought Miyu to her original house to visit her family's graves. Shirou had brought Miyu there to explain to her the truth of her adoption, that he and Kiritsugu didn't originally take her in out of kindness, but instead to be used as a tool. But since Kiritsugu's death, Shirou decided to abandon that goal completely and start a brand new life with Miyu. However, halfway through his explanation, he was interrupted by a very frustrated and livid Julian, who revealed that he was part of a Magus family that had been searching for Miyu. A shocked Shirou could only listen as he explained that he was looking for the culprit who took her away, and felt betrayed that it was Shirou this whole time. As Julian attempts to kidnap Miyu, Shirou attempts to hold him off but is quickly incapacitated by Julian's magecraft, as well as Angelica and Gilgamesh install. But not before revealing that Julian and the Ainsworth were behind the shadow.
Should've just got rid of her, man.
In the past.
Being naive, bro. Gotta stop doing that.
That they claimed would save the world if it was successful. However, with Miyu in their possession, the ritual would finally succeed. With that, they left the wreckage with Shirou laying unconscious. Shirou later finds himself in a church being attended to by Kiri Kotomine, who reveals to him the intentions of the Ainsworths, and that they were a Magus family with the goal of continuing human history eternally. In other words, to save people from any destruction or harm, to save the world, the original wish that Shirou and Kiritsugu had. They would do this by using a ritual where 7 people would install cards that contained the abilities of heroic spirits onto themselves.
Cards?
Fight in a battle royale.
You say cards. Like Gambit.
You guys know what this is. It's the Holy Grail War. Miyuverse version. Includes 7 cards instead of 7 friends. Personally, I think the original pack is better because I like friends, but whatever. Shirou responds by saying that being a hero doesn't necessarily mean killing a bunch of people and trying the exact same experiment. But Kiri replied that such a thing was a necessary sacrifice in order to save the majority. Exactly the ideology that Kiritsugu followed. Shirou goes to the crater in town, where Kiri told him Julian's castle stood. He tries to find it, but the Ainsworth's displacement magecraft prevented him from entering. With this, Shirou breaks down, yelling at nothing in hopes that Julian could hear him, admitting that he was a fake from the beginning, admitting to the world and himself that he only admired being a hero of justice, that he was only imitating the image of a hero, the image of a family, and the image of a human being.
Goodness.
In truth, he was merely an empty shell made of lies and half-truths.
That sucks.
Because of that, he wanted to become something real for once, and that he still had something important to tell Miyu, pleading desperately for her, his sister, to be returned to him. Since then, Julian had never gone to school, never meeting with Shirou again, and Shirou was left to regret his choices and lost ideals. A month passes with no progression as Shirou seeps deeper and deeper into his emptiness. One night, Sakura finds his house and suggests having dinner together. As Sakura leaves, Shirou suggests Sakura should visit again, but she then tells him that such a thing couldn't happen anymore. Sakura tells him that all this time, she wanted to spend more time with Shirou, that even the small things of their daily lives made her very happy.
Oh, wow.
That these things have to end, because the Holy Grail War had finally begun. Shirou angrily wondered if Sakura had been deceiving him the whole time, but after seeing her tear-filled eyes, he understood her pain and didn't say a word. Sakura thought that he'd be more shocked, and a pained Shirou told her that he had simply gotten used to losing everything he had. He asked Sakura if she had come to kill him, but Sakura instead gives the install card to him, saying that it's the Archer card Gilgamesh, the strongest card, and that he'll need it in order to win the war and rescue Miyu. Even then, Sakura begs for Shirou to just forget everything, to abandon this responsibility, to run away and survive, because if he did, she would do everything she could to stay with him. Shirou thinks about it for a second, but when Sakura's figure reminds him of Miyu, he could only apologize to her.
Oh my goodness,
He did not
man.
finish that, however, as they were attacked by Shinji in Assassin Install, who had lost his mind and most of his memories outside of a loyalty to Julian. Sakura tries to install Gilgamesh to protect him, but it's revealed that the card Sakura had was a fake, as the Ainsworths knew that she would betray them. With that, Shinji uses his noble phantasm on Sakura, and in her final moments, she apologizes for everything as she is killed right in front of Shirou.
Goodness,
As
man.
Shinji attacks Shirou
That's
Shirou realizes
tough.
that his ideals and hopes
Girl
are
gets
all
killed in
lost,
front of you. It's
but
tough.
instead,
Life gets
his body
tough.
and he reaches out to the false Archer card, as he mentally turns to the final thing he can do. Make an oath to save Miyu with his broken self, and miraculously, a heroic spirit responds in the card. He installs the heroic spirit Emiya, and is able to fight back against Shinji.
Emiya
Defeats Shinji,
okay.
killing him after he gives up completely and regained his memories properly. He figures out that the Shinji he fought was not the real one, merely a doll that was created for the sole purpose of getting defeated by the Ainsworths. With that, he continued on into the Grail War, and efficiently defeats all the Ainsworth dolls in order to collect the 7 install cards, including his duplicate Archer card. He goes to the cavern where the Grail, Miyu, is, and faces Julian once again. After so long, Shirou had a lot he wanted to say, but merely asks for Miyu to be returned to him, as that is all that mattered to him at that point. Julian replied that doing such a thing would be like betraying mankind, and that at the cost of her, humanity itself would be saved. Disgusted at Shirou's mentality, he claims for him to be the worst kind of evil, for essentially sacrificing the happiness of humanity for only his little sister. After hearing Julian's words, Shirou finally understands Julian's perspective and emphasizes with him. However, he also reveals that the Sakatsuki had made records of every generation they had, and that the very people who...
So is Julian evil in a sense, or what?
People with so much power in their
I'm
hands
fearing that.
only ever wished for one thing, that their children would grow up healthy. They could have wished for anything they wanted, but that wish was the only thing they asked throughout all of their generations. Shirou proclaims that if doing something like that was considered evil, then he will be evil, as he walks past them to where the Grail is. As he finally reunites with Miyu, he learns that she had accepted that she was taken in to just be a tool, wondering why he even bothered to come for her. Shirou, however, tells her that it was because he was truly her brother, and that he had always been trying to figure out what he wanted to do. With that, he gives up all the class cards he owned and wishes on the Grail, that Miyu would find a world where she would never suffer again, to meet kind people and make
that's nice. That's nice.
have her own small share of happiness. With that, Miyu realizes that her brother did always care for her, but loses consciousness before she's able to react properly, and begins getting transported through her own power. Shirou then walks back to face Angelica, who had come to stop the ritual. However, as Angelica attacks, Shirou traces Kanshou and Bakuya, revealing to a surprised Angelica that linking the garbage card to heroic spirit Emiya was a mistake, as the heroic spirit was himself. He had absorbed all of the abilities of the heroic spirit through the use of the card, and was able to replicate the abilities for himself, exclaiming to Angelica that she was fighting a true imitation of a real heroic spirit. They battled hard, with Shirou's projection magecraft countering Angelica's Gate of Babylon. In the middle, Shirou says that
also she had the Gate of Babylon, okay.
Modified to fit his own self, summoning his own version of Unlimited Blade Works, and continues the duel in the cold, desolate landscape. The battle is rough, as Shirou can counter anything Gate of Babylon shoots out, but eventually, Angelica takes out Aya to finish the fight. Shirou admits that he can never match the sword, so he instead...
So Angelica has the powers of Gilgamesh that we know
in
in the Fate area.
Ultimately, though, it was not enough. And Shirou notes that sometimes one single thing can truly outweigh everything else. The battle was lost. However, he had stalled long enough for Miyu to be sent away to another world by her own power. Shirou inside knew that Miyu would be fine and hoped that she would make plenty of friends. However, he lamented that he couldn't fulfill his promise of seeing the ocean with her, but still hoped that she would be happy. In the end, while Shirou failed his original goal of being a hero of justice, he instead succeeded in his new goal, being a brother, and no matter what would happen next, he had won the day. He was eventually captured by the Ainsworths and became their prisoner. Later, he learned that the Ainsworths had taken back Miyu, but also quickly learned that Miyu had not only made friends, but that they had come to rescue her. Shirou, in tears, realizes that even though Miyu is back, his wish had come true, and begged for them to save her. Eventually, he is freed by Kid Gil, and joins the main crew, as they fight to stop the Ainsworths.
What's Hercules' sword? Berserker sword.
The Miyuverse's version of Shirou Emiya is, as expected, quite different to any previous incarnation of Shirou. However, while saying that, it is still a natural evolution of the character from Stay Night. As I stated in my last video, Shirou's multiple incarnations grow more mature and human with each incarnation, developing through the timelines.
Because that right there, this Miyuverse, is crazy.
This is why you could argue that the Miyuverse is
definitely grew up a lot
through to Fate Stay Night. As even with all these differences, Shirou still ultimately sticks to what he believes to be right, and throughout the whole story, figures out exactly what he wants, the happiness of a single person, to protect his precious little sister. In terms of abilities and quirks, this won't take that long. He's virtually identical to Shirou in the Unlimited Blade Works route. However, there are some differences. First off, he used to be in possession of the Archer class card, one that happened to be linked to Emiya, so he could install it despite the fact that it was supposedly a dud. Installing Emiya, he would gain all the abilities and proficiencies of the heroic spirit, and since the heroic spirit was himself, he would absorb the abilities and the knowledge into his own existence as well. In fact, it goes so far to the point where his own magic circuits begin to change him to be more similar to Emiya, even giving him the physical abilities of a servant and a patch of white on his hair. His reality marble.
Oh, okay, I get you now. White patch on his hair and everything. Okay, so you get the physical and like the mental of Emiya. There's a stall on it.
His chant and the appearance of his reality marble changes to reflect this. Unlike Archer or Stay Night Shirou, this version of Unlimited Blade Works is a snowy, desolate landscape, covered in the pitch black of night in the middle of a snowstorm. This is because he is figuratively cold. His warm ideals have failed, and he's lost almost everything. Miyu's happiness is the sole purpose of his life, and it shows. As while his whole existence was cold and lonely, he could still fight. As for personal thoughts, I love Miyuverse Shirou just as much as Stay Night Shirou. Equally, and in some ways even more. As I've said before, I have a huge affinity to stories relating to close unity in bonds, often familial stories like Clannad and Makia. So this Shirou's story hits really close to me. It just resonates with me so much, and I can't help but feel for him. His goals are so human, but so relatable, and his development is very natural, even if it's tragic. Miyuverse Shirou takes a balance of
Right.
being both emotionally heart-wrenching and hype as shit. Immeasurably sympathetic, but also badass as all-time hell. To me, Miyuverse Shirou shows the best parts and most evidently badass results of Shirou's entire character arc, and is yet another example of why Shirou is an interesting and unique take on the typical hero protagonist. Thankfully, due to Oath Under Snow adding the necessary thought-establishing monologue in the anime, this version of Shirou is not nearly as misunderstood as his Stay Night counterpart, and thank God for that. He is a great glimpse into the type of character Shirou is for an anime-only viewer, and is a great
Which would make
example
sense.
as to why he's so loved to those who don't quite get him yet. With that, another episode of Type Moon Character Showcase is done. I hope you enjoyed this episode, even if it was mostly just an Oath Under Snow recap. Regardless, I will now take my leave.
Alright, Type Moon Character Showcase Shirou Emiya Miyuverse version from like the other, like I guess it was like some well, no, was it anime? No, I think it wasn't anime. It was just like a manga like little series. But yeah, that was pretty crazy. So like it's got some similarities like you said, but it did also have like its differences, like as far as him and Kiryusugu didn't like meet during like the zero, like the Holy Grail War that she met like outside of that. Also as well, like instead of when his adopted father died, instead of like following in his footsteps of like being the hero of justice and everything like that, he wanted to be a big brother to Mirio, which obviously, and then like with Shiryu, like his ideals and everything like that, his lifestyles, like with that whole thing, then it's gonna change. Him not being really that close to Sakura and stuff, it was just a lot. It's crazy, but it's really cool. Like I said, guys, so leave in the comments down below if you guys want me to react to anything else. I will get on that as soon as I can with everything else that I got recording, and I am recording for today. Like, subscribe on the video, share the video where you share cool stuff, Facebook, Twitter, etc., Reddit, wherever you share cool stuff, just go ahead and share it. Go ahead and go follow the Facebook page, everything else like that down below. This is INCOG, I'm out. Peace.